She's originally from the UK, but when her life changed overnight, she created a new life in Indonesia. Welcome to the show, Alice Readman.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, it's true. I now live in Indonesia and very, very happy that this happened to me.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
goodness.
created it, but yeah, that it happened.
You're originally from the UK. What part of the UK?
Well, I was born in London, but when I was a baby, my parents moved down to the south coast of England. So I was brought up in a sort of small village outside of Portsmouth.
Getting right into the nitty gritty here, what was the horrible thing that you had to experience that kind of set you on this path?
Yeah, well, I was happily married, so I thought, with my husband for 5 years, and we couldn't have children ourselves, so we decided together to go through the process of adoption. We'd already thought about this before we even got married, and so yeah, so we went through the process. It's a very intense 2-year process, and you're assessed all the way along the way. You go for courses. I even had to work in a nursery. Yeah, you have to. I mean, I read lots of books about attachment theory and bringing up, adopted children and all of this. And then basically the day before we were going to be integrated with the children, we were going to move up to near the foster family and integrate with them and then bring them home to our house. My husband woke me up before going to work and basically said he didn't want me or the children. So I wasn't fully awake. But obviously he woke me up, so I was sort of in that sort of waking up stage. And yeah, it was pretty shocking. My life changed literally. It was one of those sliding door moments. The life I thought I was going to lead for the next 20, well, for the rest of my life,
Right.
adopting these children and having the honor of bringing them up and nurturing them. Yeah, it was 2 siblings. So a little girl who was 3 and a little boy who was 18 months. So I could have had this instant family, these beautiful children that I'd felt very connected to spiritually. And, I knew everything about the little girl. She was beautiful, creative little thing. I knew everything about her. And I felt so connected to her in particular. I mean, obviously the little boy, I didn't know so much about his character. He was, 18 months, but because you don't get to meet them till the day, And yeah, I was just, whoa. I mean, I've never, this term heartbroken. I mean, I felt my heart breaking in the physical sense inside of my body. I mean, when people say heartbreak, like, yeah, I mean, okay, so you're sad. So, it's broken your dreams, but actually I felt it deeply within my body. The shock went through my body. I mean, for the first 5 nights, I had some sort of spiritual opening through this intense pain that I was going through. And yeah, my life had a kind of domino effect from actually just that moment. So yeah, it changed my life.
My goodness. I can't imagine. I mean, you haven't met the kids, but you're already dedicating your life to spending with them and then having them ripped away from you. It must have felt like you had your own children ripped away from you, because in a sense they were.
Yeah, I mean, on many levels, yes. And I did have, what I can say, like the results of what you would have when you have a miscarriage. My body actually felt everything and acted accordingly. And so, yes, I did. I mean, it was like a death. I mean, it was a death. I mean, it wasn't a physical death. Thankfully, there, would find another beautiful family, although I was never allowed to know any information about it. But I trusted that the universe would give these beautiful children, these very special children, a beautiful home where they would be with the right parents, And yeah, so it was huge grief. And yeah, and obviously the rejection from my partner. I mean, that's obviously very damaging as well. So I had a sort of double whammy, really. And especially in the nature it was told. I mean, I'm a very adaptable kind of person. I've had lots of life experiences. My father died when I was in my early 30s, which was a big big experience for me. And, you know, I knew I could manage it. I was told by source or the angels or whoever were talking to me, you know, they said, thankfully, they said sort of 2 days in, something like, you know, it's okay. There's a gift in this experience. And I trusted that. And I suppose that gave me hope, that I knew no matter what happened to me, no one was ruining my life. But yes, obviously, for years later, I had to come to terms with the grief and loss that I would never be a mother. And yeah, that I'd lost the children that I had so much connection with. And yeah, that was my opportunity to be a mother. Yeah.
What were the first few weeks like after something like that happened?
Absolutely otherworldly, in the real sense of otherworldliness, and then also being on this planet in this sort of 3D world. Hectic. I mean, everyone, including obviously myself, was in shock. But it's like when you adopt children, all your family and all your friends know, everyone knows. You have to tell everyone. I mean, I even had her register in a nursery for a few mornings just to adapt and make friends and paint and do lovely things, because they suggest that, you know. So I done everything they suggested. And so, yeah, it was shocking for me. It was devastating for like my mother and all my siblings. I didn't actually get round to telling my friends, to be honest, because they knew I was doing 10 days with the children. I would be in isolation. And the devastation around me and the devastation that happened to me, I wasn't actually able to tell my friends until weeks later, because what happened, I was lucky. My sister stayed with me the first week. Some lovely family friends said to me, look, do you need help? Come and live with us. We'll support you. So they supported me for the second week, because I'd gone on this spiritual journey, you know, and I was in severe shock. And, you know, the carpet from beneath my feet, you know, the ground had literally emptied and I had been swallowed. So they took me in for the second week, which was that really saved my life. And that's, I can put it down to them, that's how I came through everything so well. What happened to me later, because on the third week when I had to leave the house because the lovely, his wife, she actually had to have an eye operation. So they took me back to my house and to my family. And basically, the next week, I ended up getting sectioned in a psychiatric ward.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but, you know, luckily, I mean, that was even horrendous. I can't really, horrendous doesn't really express it, but complicated. But, you know, have my freedom taken off me, being drugged and all of this. I mean, I was just like, wow, now I really am in a movie. I mean, this is just, you know, my life it just tumbled into incarceration.
right. We're stacking trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. You've already been
Yeah.
through something absolutely horrible. Your whole life is falling apart, and you're thrown in a psychiatric ward.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I did say to them, I'm suffering from grief.
Yeah.
But I think they just treat everyone the same, and basically you get heavily drugged, which actually the really bad panic attack, the heart panic attack that I told you that I experienced on the first few days, the first few nights of the news, again, what happened to me? I thought I was dying again. I'm like, no, I'm staying. I'm not dying. You know, this happened the first week. I was like, no, I'm holding on. I'm not going anywhere, you know? So I had that again. And so I tried to speak to some of the staff to say, I can't breathe. And now I can't even talk. You know, I trying to write a message saying to them, I need oxygen or something. No help. I just took myself back to bed. And I basically, one of the skills my lovely family friend had told me to do, he said, write everything down, Alice. Write everything down. Date it, time it. You know, that is your evidence. And that was the biggest gift I could have been given, because I was already into journaling and all that kind of stuff anyway, envisioning and journaling. You know, I would do that kind of thing anyway. But to do it in that place got me out of there as quickly as I could have done and thrown off my section. But yeah, I rode through that panic attack. And it was, I really thought I was going to die. I was like, no way. I want to live. So yeah, so that tool, I would recommend to anyone if they're feeling, they're going through difficult times, write it out, because, the physical thing of writing with a pen through your arm to the heart, to the brain, it's just like expressing how you feel when you can't tell anyone, when you're isolated, depressed, or any problem you have, as long as you're able, to write, to put it out there. If you can't write, scribble, doodle, do something, load your pain, offload, yeah. So that saved me, really, journaling through the whole experience.
I tell
Hence the book.
people, yeah, exactly. I tell people all the time that one of the strongest trauma reactions that we can have is a need for control. When we feel like we've lost control of something or some part of our life or our life in general, we have this overwhelming need to control it as much as possible, and we can't. There are very few things in life that we can control, but being able to write, being able to paint, being able to cook, you can control what goes on the paper or the canvas. You can control how much flour goes on in the bowl. Take the things that you can do, that you can control, and use them in a beneficial way.
Absolutely.
Retrain yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, some of my journals on that time, obviously I haven't looked back at them, but I mean, they were pretty chaotic because obviously I was put on very heavy drugs for bipolar. Yeah.
Not fun. And
I
you said
know.
that you knew there was a gift in your experience and you had
Yes.
to share this to be able to help other people.
Yeah.
That is not an easy thing to do. I
No.
think that there is truly a gift in all experiences. And we have to look sometimes really hard to find it, but it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me years to come to that realization. How long did it take for you to really come around to that thought?
Well, I was told I had to write a book. So as soon as I got out and I was sort of living somewhere, I actually did write the first draft because I had to write it just for myself, because I was still saying to myself, did this really happen? Have I gone through another dimension here? Because how is it I could be married, about to adopt 2 children, be a responsible adult, be a person that's actually been gone through 2 courts to have been allowed to adopt these children, and then suddenly I'm a no one. I'm not allowed to adopt children. I'm not allowed to, have that responsibility. And actually, I don't have a life. I mean, I didn't have a life. I didn't have anything, you know. And the life I had, I didn't like at all. So yeah, so I wrote the first draft, because then it really grounded me, like, yes, that did happen. Yes, I did say that to you. Yes, that did happen. And I was like, okay. And then that was good for me because it gave me, I was lost. I was like, what am I going to do with me? Where do we go here? No one gives you guidance. And I got out of the psychiatric ward, and yeah, I had to find a new way. So writing, I would never say I was a writer, and I never imagined putting out a book ever, especially about my personal circumstances, which, extremely revealing and personal. So it has actually taken me, so it happened. So the first draft was written in 2015, and now it's 2023 that I put it out early this year.
Wow.
So I wasn't ready beforehand. I couldn't hold it. It was too much. I'm sure you can understand this. I felt too shamed. I felt too vulnerable. It was too exposing. I didn't want to hurt anyone, especially my family. I didn't want to be seen, be heard. I didn't want to speak up even. I'm just learning to speak now. I'm just learning to speak. I'm learning to speak on podcasts and talk about what happened to me. But before then, back in March, when I put out the book, I was still like, I'm just going to hide here. Okay, I've done the book thing. I'm just going to get used to that. But I had such good response from people that read the book. And also, what I realized is when people read the book, they go through their own journey, and whatever they feel, and sometimes it is quite deep, depending where they are in their life, or depending what mood they are when you read the book, because it's all about, we can read the same book at different time, and it's like, yeah, another time we can feel something very deeply. So whatever experience that people have when they read it, it's their experience, and it's not to do with me. The way I see it, I've gifted my personal experience, and if some people can get something from that for themselves, then that's great. But really, I see it, it's not about me now. It's, yes, it is my story. Obviously, it will always be my story. But, that is so far away now. It's 9 years away. It's nearly a decade, So my life is very different now. And I'm much more, I'm in a place of safety. I'm in a beautiful world living in Bali with the nature all around me and the beautiful weather and the beautiful community that I've connected to and all the wonderful things that I've learned since I've been here.
Right. And I
And
know
healing, everything.
I understand quite a few of the things that you've learned since moving there have been really helpful for you in recovering from everything that you had to go through. I mean, aside from the journaling, aside from writing, what all have you done?
Right. Well, when I came to Bali, I'd already been singing mantra, and mantra was something that another aspect that actually saved me, because when I couldn't sleep all those nights to begin with, I sang my mantra every night, all through the night, in fact. I mean, I sang along with some other music to keep me in my body. And that mantra, funnily enough, I had been singing for my children for the 2 years until I found them. So that held me in so much power. It was like I'd sang that mantra for them, and now I was singing it for myself, for us all, really, in a spiritual sense. So when I came to Bali, I started going to kirtan and singing mantra with others. And that was just a really wonderful way of just singing through my heart and just expressing how I felt and just releasing and empowering my body and waking up all the cells to make them happy. So it was my joy, my weekly joy. And then on top of that, I found the Pyramids of Chi, which is a healing center where they have loads of sound healings with gongs. And so I experienced all that, which was amazing and really inspired me to want to learn more, to have a singing bowls course, to have a gong course, to get a gong, to get bowls, to really go back into the sound. I say go back into the sound because in my 20s and early 30s, I was in a band with my ex-boyfriend, and he was sort of indie pop, kind of thing, or indie rock. And I played bass. So I'd been in the sort of music industry and with music as a sort of, through my partner. And now, since I've been living in Bali, sound has been in a different way to bring me through this experience and to help support my body through the trauma, to release through the shock, through experiencing joy and experience these mini transformations. I definitely say along with breath work. I've done a lot of group breath work when I first came here, and since trained as a facilitator, I think it was last year, I had to. It's one of the breath is the most powerful tool to keep us in our body, to allow us to breathe when we're going through all this shock and pain and despair, So yes, that's a couple of things anyway. And obviously singing and using the voice, because when you sing, you're singing to every cell in your body. And, we all have the gift, unless obviously you can't speak, or, we all have the gift of singing. Doesn't matter what, a lot of people say, oh, I've got a dreadful voice. It's like, no, we all have a voice. It's just about, speaking to your body, singing, making sounds. You don't have to sing words. You don't have to be Mariah Carey or somebody, big like that. But we've all got a voice, and it's very freeing and liberating to use your voice, to express your voice. So now I'm actually making little songs and learning new instruments. So that's been really, I learned the harmonium a couple of years ago because I had to, because, the harmonium is in kirtan is such a powerful instrument that is
That's
so.
my niece's favorite instrument.
Oh, really? Yeah.
She loves it.
It really spoke to me. So I had to learn that. So I did. And then recently I've got a guitar and a little acoustic guitar, and I'm learning. I've got my first chords, and I wrote a song. So I got somebody to help me work out what the chords were. So I'm just learning that now. And I'm just, we can do anything at any time. And this is what it's really showing me. I'd never thought that I would write songs. I thought, no, my ex-boyfriend, he writes songs. He's the songwriter. He's a guitarist. And, I'm just a little bass player in the background. But it's like, no, we can all write songs. We can all sing. We can all write. We can all express our creativity. And by trying these different ways of expression, we can find what we want to do, or we can do all of it. Why not?
Yeah.
We don't have to be
Fantastic.
a professional published, writer. I self-published. You don't have to do it, we can just do it however, just play with friends and jam.
Yeah.
Just sing, go and join a choir or sing with friends, or, I think this creativity, that's the one thing I'd say is one of the key things for me, that besides connection with other people, creativity, finding ways of expressing yourself is what sort of nourishes your soul and can bring more joy into your life. And that's really key.
Tell me about your book. It's called I Am Alice, Break Up, Break Down, Breakthrough. I
Yes.
love the cover of this book. These are some of my most favorite colors, but correct me if I'm wrong. That is a lotus flower.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I love it. Tell me about how you came up with this idea and tell me something about the book.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say about the cover. Well, my friend designed the cover because I trained as a graphic
Oh,
designer. Yeah, it's another one of the things I did. I did many things, but I was also a graphic designer. But because I was writing the book and doing everything in the book, I didn't have the mental space to also do the cover. So I asked a friend that I worked with, and she came up with a flower. I think it was frangipani to begin with, and I was like, it's good, but I really wanted, because I'd done the graphic, and so I just, with the typeface, sorry. And so it goes into like a pyramid, and I wanted a lotus, but then I wanted vines. I wanted it to be growing and budding, So she came up with this, because obviously lotuses don't actually look like this, but we're all in different stages of, transformation. And so, yeah, so that's my beautiful friend that came up with that. The book, sorry, what was the question about the book?
tell me a little bit about it. Why,
Okay.
how do you think that it would help other people?
Yeah, well, I feel it will help other people because it's telling my true story. I do call it a true adventure story because, it was an adventure that I didn't know where it would go or what would happen, and so many different things happened on so many different levels. So I feel it's sharing it honestly about what happens to people. Now, the themes in the book, divorce. I mean, 50% of the population gets divorced. Children, having children, not having children, losing children, adopting children. I mean, everyone wants children or doesn't want children or whatever, you know what I mean? So another universal theme. The real crux of it is getting locked up and in a psychiatric ward, because I didn't realize this, but this happens to many, many people. And since I've put out my book, or even before I put out my book, people came to me and told me their story about how it happened to their mother, to themselves, and all of this depression, suicide, and all that kind of stuff. So I was really like, I really need to do this for people that are still shamed about talking about being, incarcerated, having their freedom taken off them, being drugged, not being able to leave. And I don't know about what it's like in America, but in the UK, if you get sectioned, chances are it's going to happen again and again.
Oh, that's horrific.
So, I mean, I had met this friend in Bali, and she had put a message out on Facebook. This is before I put the book out. And she said, I need help. So I texted her personally. I said, what's going on? And she said, oh, I've been locked up. And I said, okay. Okay, so, and I tried to sort of understand the situation. We had a few Zoom calls. And then she told me she'd already been locked up 3 times during 2020. And it was all like kind of misinformation, misunderstanding, and anyway, she did manage to get out. But she had been locked up 4 times by the end of it. And she did recover and everything. But it's just like, I know this happens, to people. And it's not the way, in my opinion, that it's the way to move on with supporting people through difficult circumstances. And like for myself, for grief, I mean, I don't really think that's a way to treat somebody going through grief. But yes, I mean, so I think it could appeal to many people. It's taking you on a journey, and you can take whatever layer of the story you like. I mean, it's it has lots of parallels, I believe, to other things going on in the world, which I read into when I was reading my book myself afterwards. So yeah, I think it's got on many dimensions you can read it spiritually, mentally, on many levels. And it shows my recovery.
I know I'm very much looking forward to getting my copy. I can't wait till it gets here. But you also have a podcast with
Yes, I do.
almost the same cover. It's just a little bit, it's a different color for the background.
Yes.
It's still this ongoing theme of the beautiful flower that you are. I don't know if you see it that way or not, but this is exactly the way I see it. This is, to me, a representation of who you have become. You have grown so much from where you were. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
What is your podcast about?
Well, my podcast is about creativity, connection, clarity. I mean, for me, I know, and for people going through difficult circumstances, connection is key. We need to find connection with ourselves, with nature, with people, because that's what's going to take us through. So we have to find the right ones for us that we can trust and support and be supported, and also support other people. So, and creativity, for me, that is what we're all here for, to be creative individuals, to be creative souls that can fully express, oh, you can't sing, so you don't sing all your life. I mean, it's like, you don't paint, you can't draw, blah, blah, blah. We all have all of this stuff. So it's coming through those boundaries and just trying things. And by trying things, you'll find something. And that can be a really wonderful way of expression. You don't have to be professional at it. I mean, you can write something, you can paint, you can do whatever you like, and to not have those limitations, to realize that we can all do it. I mean, now I'm doing a podcast. I mean, I really wanted to do it, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it because I've seen other people's and I don't know. And then I just thought, no, you're doing it. Talk to all these people that inspire you, and then just do it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that then. So I did. And now I think I'm on number 8. And I love it because I love talking to other people about their lives and all the sort of juicy things that inspire me. So, instead of talking about me, I much prefer talking to other people.
Well, it has come to that point in the podcast where I ask the final questions. The last one is absolutely my favorite question, always will be. Before I get there, my next to last question is always, or I try to make it always, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? And have you always been that way, or has that changed?
Right. That's a really interesting question, actually, because some people perceive me as being an extrovert because I love people and I like to meet new people and I love to chat to people. But I wouldn't count myself as an extrovert. I think I'm sort of one of those, I could be either, I'm sort of a bit of both. So so I don't think I'm categorized either one or the other, because I'm definitely not an extrovert, but then I can't say I'm a total introvert. So I'm sort of half and half. 50-50.
All right. And my last question, always my favorite, and it always changes depending on how you feel. What is one thing that you love about yourself right now that's not related to your physical appearance?
Wow. Enthusiasm. Can I say that? Because
Absolutely.
I love the fact that I'm always being recharged by so much around me. Like, if it's not the people I meet, the music I hear, nature, my cat, who's very demanding, but still, it's enthusiasm or inspiration. There's always something to be inspired about. Now I'm giving you more words, but being inspired and enthusiasm, they sort of kind of go together, really. They sort of bounce off each other. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed tonight's episode, please make sure you check out the episode description. You'll find links there on how you can learn more about this guest, links to connect with them on social media, and how to support the podcast. Remember, I don't get paid to do this. My boss is a bit tight-fisted, but I can say that. I work for myself.